Hello, here is the news of this hour from T-Solid TV. I am Olaide Amosu. Here are some major headlines. OLUBADAN directs NDIGBO leader to settle dispute for Igbo people in Oyo State. Federal government begins airdrop of relief items to IDPs. And on the foreign scene, South Africa seeks to curb gender-based violence. Oil drops more than $1 after Saudi price cuts. Demand optimism fades. And world of sports, Manchester City, RIYAD Mahrez and AYMERIC Laporte test positive for coronavirus. Now the news in details. The OLUBADAN of Ibadan, His Imperial Majesty Oba Saliu Akanmu Adetunji Aje Ogunguniso I, is said to have asked NDIGBO of Ibadan land, Dr. Alex Anozie, to henceforth handle any dispute that emanates from the ethnic group in Oyo State. The monarch gave the directive in his palace during a visit to his palace by two Igbo groups for settlement of a dispute between them. In a statement by his spokesperson, Mr. Godwin Ngu, he quoted the monarch saying Chief Anozie should see to resolution of any dispute that emanates from his people in the state. According to Ngu, Oba Adetunji told the two parties through his personal assistant, Adiola Oloko, to consult Dr. Anozie, who is recognized by law, accepted by his people, and who has been working with the OLUBADAN for adjudication on any disagreement or dispute on NDIGBO issues. Meanwhile, Oba Adetunji equally advised the ethnic group to continue to be peaceful, as usual, stressing that there is no controversy regarding the status of the NDIGBO of Ibadan land, who is Dr. Anozie, and who is the only one recognized by law as Onyendu as well. He also said the OLUBADAN in council doing this is aligning itself with the rule of law, which states expressly that Dr. Anozie is the NDIGBO in Ibadan land and Oyo State. The University of Ibadan Academic Staff Union of Universities, Asuu, Chairman Professor Ayo Akinwale, has thwarted moves by government to reopen all schools without taking responsibility for schools to meet COVID-19 precautionary guidelines. Akinwale stated that those leading the agitation for reopening of schools are private schools due to the negative impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on them, and warned that no pecuniary gains is more than the lives of lecturers and their students. The Asuu boss noted that while National Assembly members can afford to observe social distancing in the National Assembly complex, the same is not possible with overcrowded classrooms due to the impiety of the ruling government not to properly fund public education. He further warned parents not to jubilate at the news of possible reopening, but they should rather ask government to take responsibility for whatever surge in COVID-19 that may happen as a result of ill thought out of reopening. However, Akinwale stated that Asuu, as a responsible union, owes Nigerians the duty to warn against the danger of not meeting NCDC guidelines and throwing the lives of the children of the masses to the possibility of COVID-19 contraction. The federal government, through the Ministry of Humanitarian, airdropped relief items to the internally displaced persons, IDPs, in Borno State. The airdrop technique of food and non-food distribution to the IDPs is to ensure that the displaced persons trapped at inaccessible locations due to the ongoing war between the military and terrorists, as well as areas covered by flood, are reached with means of survival. Speaking yesterday in Maiduguri during the demonstration of the airdrop of the food items by the Nigerian Air Force, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk, said the airdrop method of food distribution is to tackle issues surrounding inaccessible areas in the state. President Muhammadu Buhari is set to be departing from Abuja today for Niamey, Niger Republic, to participate in the 57th ordinary session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government. According to a statement yesterday in Abuja issued by Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says the one-day summit will deliberate on the special report on COVID-19 to be presented by President Buhari, who is appointed the ECOWAS champion on the fight against COVID-19 during the extraordinary virtual summit of ECOWAS. The statement informed that President Buhari is expected to coordinate the sub-regional response against the pandemic. However, this will be the second time President Buhari will be traveling out of the country since the outbreak of the dreaded coronavirus pandemic. Moving on to the foreign scene, South Africa's government has announced its introduction of 3 bills in parliament to curb gender-based violence. President Cyril Ramaphosa has termed them as the most far-reaching legislative overhaul in the fight against gender-based violence and femicide. The proposed changes are reported to seek, among other things, create a new offence of sexual intimidation and allow for names of sex offenders to be publicly available, and tighten the granting of bail to perpetrators of violence against women. It also imposes new obligations on police officers, prosecutors, and courts in handling cases. It was reported that the Domestic Violence Act will be changed to cover couples in engagements, dating, in customary relationships, and actual or perceived romantic, intimate, or sexual relationships of any duration. Meanwhile, Mr. Ramaphosa said the bills will restore the confidence of the country's women and that the law is indeed there to protect them. Oil prices dropped more than $1 a barrel on Monday, hitting their lowest since July. The drop is coming after Saudi Arabia made the deepest monthly price cuts for supply to Asia in 5 months, as optimism about demand recovery cooled amid the coronavirus pandemic. Brent crude was at $41.75 a barrel, down 91 cents or 2.1% by 0.00 GMT, after it earlier slipped to $41.51, its lowest since July 30th. United States West Texas Intermediate crude skidded 91 cents or 2.3% to $38.86 a barrel. Front-month prices initially hit a low of $35.55 a barrel, a level not seen since July 3rd. The world remained awash with crude and fuel supplies despite OPEC Plus supply cuts and government efforts to stimulate the global economy and oil demand, forcing refiners to rein in output and producers to make deep price cuts again. The world's top oil exporter, Saudi Arabia, cut the October official selling price for Arab light crude it sells to Asia by the biggest margin since May. Asia is Saudi Arabia's largest market by region. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and its allies, including Russia, a group known as OPEC Plus, eased production cuts from August to 7.7 million barrels per day, after global oil prices improved from historic coronavirus-linked lows. The recovery in oil prices has also encouraged some United States drillers to return to the wells. United States energy firms last week added oil and natural gas rigs for the second time in the past 3 weeks, according to a weekly report by Baker Hughes Co. on Friday. India is said to have overtaken Brazil today to become the second worst affected country in terms of coronavirus cases, behind the United States. The South Asian nation has recorded 4.20 million infections since the pandemic began. Health Ministry data showed, compared with 4.12 million in Brazil and 6.25 million in the United States. Today, it reported an increase of more than 90,000 cases, and its caseload was reported to have moved past 4 million on Saturday, only 13 days after hitting 3 million. Moving on to the exciting world of sports, Manchester City's winger RIYAD Mahrez and defender AYMERIC Laporte have tested positive for COVID-19. It was reported that Algeria's Mahrez, who's 29, and Frenchman Laporte, who's 24, was not displaying symptoms of coronavirus and hence will not train with their teammates, while they self-isolate in line with the United Kingdom's government and Premier League rules. However, both players are in the United Kingdom, and with the self-isolation period being 10 days, Mahrez and Laporte should be available for City's game with Wolves in 2 weeks' time. World number 1 Novak Djokovic is announced to be docked all ranking points and at the US Open and fined $250,000 in prize money following his sensational disqualification from the tournament yesterday. It was reported in a statement from the US Tennis Association details the immediate sanctions Djokovic faces after he was tossed out of the tournament during the fourth round. The United States Tennis Association said Djokovic had been defaulted under the Grand Slam rules for intentionally hitting a ball dangerously or recklessly within the court, or hitting a ball with negligent disregard of the consequences. However, because he was defaulted, Djokovic will lose all ranking points and at the US Open and will be fined the prize money won at the tournament in addition to any or all fines levied with respect of the offending incident. With that, we've come to the end of the news. A recap of the headlines. OLUBADAN directs NDIGBO leader to settle dispute for Igbo people in Oyo State. Federal government begins airdrop of relief items to IDPs. And on the foreign scene, South Africa seeks to curb gender-based violence. Oil drops more than $1 after Saudi price cuts. Demand optimism fades. In the world of sports, Manchester City RIYAD Mahrez and AYMERIC Laporte test positive for coronavirus. Please do not forget to always adhere to COVID-19 safety measures. The news was compiled by Amanda Anyeli. I am Olaide Amosi. Good day and thank you for watching.